Welcome to the webinar. I am your host, Seth Green. Today I have the literal amazing good fortune of interviewing Adam Wilber. We're going to be talking today about how to make your event planning career magical. Now, the reason why I say it's the amazing good fortune to be interviewing Adam is because Adam is literally amazing. He is an internationally known corporate magician who travels the US and Canada performing, lecturing, and keynote speaking on creativity, design, and imagination. He is the general manager of the most successful magic store of all time, illusionist.com, and he's created products, magic tricks, decks of playing cards, and illusions that are some of the best-selling items of their kind used by fellow magicians all over the world. Now, Adam delivers fast-paced, highly interactive comedy magic that is guaranteed to keep your audience rolling in the aisles and will be displaying cutting-edge magic that has never been seen before. It's this unique opportunity to see magic performed by its creator that has garnered Adam millions of views, spots on NBC, Good Morning America, the Discovery Channel, and Sci-Fi, just to name a few. He's also performed for companies like Google, Intel, BMW, IBM, and many others. Adam, we are super excited to have you here today.
Awesome to be here. Thanks for hosting this. I really appreciate it.
Happy to. So today we're going to be talking about a number of different things. We're going to be talking about the 7 must-have apps for event planners. We're going to be talking about how to overcome the 5 most common mistakes event planners make when booking entertainment, something Adam knows very, very well. We're going to be talking about tips for post-event marketing maximization. And then we're going to be talking about 4 steps to ignite your creativity. And then Adam has a very special freebie he is giving away at the end. So make sure you stay the whole time. Adam, why are apps so important for event planners? You know what, let's back up just a second. How did you get into magic in the first place, and how did you become, a celebrity entertainer on the household soup of television channels? How did you get to where you are?
I started very young, 6 years old. A friend of mine fooled me, and then I learned the trick he fooled me with. I showed my father, and at 6 years old, I saw that I had fooled my father, and that was a life-changing moment. And from then on, I went through grade school and middle school and high school, passionately in love with magic. And then after that, went to college to be a teacher and realized I could make a pretty good living entertaining people. And it's really the realizing that it's about entertainment and not just the magic tricks, which really sparked my career. And then I got in good with the company Illusionist, which you touched on, and it kind of snowballed from there.
And how has that gotten to, lots of magicians, there are many, many magicians and many, many entertainers, but very few have had the opportunity to perform for some of the household name corporations that you've performed for, let alone have millions of views and be on Good Morning America, the Discovery Channel, and Sci-Fi. How do you attract so much attention?
Well, with my company, Illusionist, the one that I'm the general manager of, we market heavily. That's a big part of the company. We're a digital learning platform for people to learn magic. So, of course, we've got to get our name out there. So I'm pretty savvy with digital marketing and getting my name out there. And then an invention of mine went extremely viral, which got me on a lot of airtime. It's called Pyro, which lets you shoot fireballs from your hands. It was developed for magicians, but the general public got word of it, and it got extremely popular, and it was featured on all sorts of newscasts, TV shows, things like that. I had to get on for interviews, and so that's a big part of the reason I got so much airtime on TV and radio and whatnot, is the fact that I invented something that so many people saw. It got over, at this point, there's 2 million views on YouTube of the trailer, and it was a mistake, but it worked out pretty well in my favor. A mistake that the general public got wind of it. A lot of the magicians in the magic community thought I was selling out by giving away our secrets. But at the end of the day, I look at it as, if you really think your audience believes you can shoot fireballs from your hands, then I think you're not giving them enough credit. So
right, there might be a bigger issue there.
Exactly, yeah. That was a big part of the reason I got on so much press. And then I leveraged that to the best of my ability. And then I've been on some national television shows for my creativity in magic, a show called Penn and Teller Wizard Wars, where you go on and you create magic tricks, and you kind of compete against other magicians. So, just being active in the game and staying creative and kind of pushing my stuff forward.
Now, you are also on the cutting edge, not just of digital technology, digital marketing, but also technology in general in terms of, like you talked about, Pyro, the device that lets you shoot fire from your hands. You are constantly, and another trick you just recently released called Decibel, you're constantly playing with technology and using it not only as a means to accomplish a magic trick, but to be part of the magic trick itself, which makes you eminently qualified, in my opinion, to talk about the 7 must-have apps for event planners, because you're always, the event planners are the folks who hire you. So let's dive right in and give them some of what they came here for. What are some of the 7 must-have apps for event planners?
Sure. Now, of course, this is a list that I compiled just from talking to friends of mine in the business, and these are the things that they use and have great success with. Starting with Pinterest. As an event planner, one of the challenges that people face a lot is how do you keep things interesting and creative, and you want your event to stand out among the crowd. And Pinterest is an amazing platform to spark creativity, especially visual aesthetics of creativity. As an event planner, you can get on Pinterest and go and spend a couple hours and get 100, you can get 100 different themes of different events and just look at what they've done, look at the centerpieces, look at the lighting and the staging, and pick the things that you like and do a little swipe file of things that you enjoy. I just take screenshots. When I'm trying to be creative, I get on Pinterest and I'll screenshot on my computer, drop it all into a folder. So Pinterest would be the first one. It's a great platform to spark your creativity and putting something out there that is going to get noticed and remembered.
What about Planning Pod, number 2?
Yeah, Planning Pod, I've never messed with. A couple friends of mine who are event planners swear by it, and it basically is a way to put everything together. So you don't have to have emails over here, contracts over here. You can kind of compile it all into one app and have everything you're going to need opening the app saying, John Doe's event in this date, where's my vendor for this? And you can put it all into one place. So instead of opening different platforms left and right, you can do it all into Planning Pod. Not something I've ever messed around with, but I do have a couple friends that speak very, very highly of it and said it saves them a lot of time.
So Planning Pod almost seems like project management all in one place, as opposed to having email, Word, PDF, Doc, Dropbox. You can have it all under one roof, a whole lot easier to access and a lot more productive.
Yeah, and I think you can categorize things, for instance, wedding or corporate events, award ceremony, and know the vendors you've used, or even categorize them, if I'm correct, by location. Hey, my guy in Atlanta, this is who I use for lighting, this is who I use for this and that. So just the time-saving app. And I think that's the beauty of these apps, is that technology is supposed to make our lives easier, and if it can save us time, it's going to make your life easier.
Absolutely.
Scanner Pro is amazing. Scanner Pro I use personally. Anytime I have a receipt for my business, as you know, you're self-employed, or if you're not, you work with a company. Either way, you've got to track your expense. The easiest way for me is I get a receipt, and if I'm ever doing anything on business, whether I'm going to a gig, I'm traveling from state to state, you take a photograph of the receipt and it scans into a PDF automatically. So you've got it there. You can categorize them for the event. You can categorize them for whatever company you're working for at the time. But it's a really great way to keep track of all of your documents, send files as you need. Somebody needs you to sign a contract. Sometimes it can be a little finicky getting on the computer and digitally signing it. So you can print it out, sign it, scan it, and send it right back as a PDF. But I love it because it tracks my receipts. I have everything that I've spent in one place, and at the end of the month when I need to go into my QuickBooks, I can upload them all right as PDFs.
That is really helpful. I have been taking pictures and emailing myself, but of course then I've got to take the extra step, because if you just print the picture, at least in my issue, it prints tiny, so I always have to convert it to a PDF and then print it. So the fact that this skips that step for you, obviously, is really, really helpful.
Yeah, this has saved me a lot of time, especially with tax season just coming up. This thing has been a lifesaver for me. I use another one too that's not on there, but if you don't like that, you can use one called Turbo Scan, which does basically the exact same thing. Capsule. So Capsule, again, is not what I'm very familiar with, but a few friends swear by it, and it's a way of, if you're at an event and you want to capture the moment, it's a way of storing all of that and then sharing it easily. So not one that I'm super familiar with, but from what I gather is a fun way to help you capture your photos, your videos, everything about the event that you want to save, or help to promote your services, you know, thereafter. Of course, it's always good to remind people, hey, remember how great of a time we had at X, Y, and Z? You pop it in there and then you've got it categorized under, I mean, my iPhone is littered with photographs of events and things like that. Probably smart for me to check this one out, because then I could categorize each event and have all the photos listed there. 6 months down the line, if I want to readdress my client, I can send them a picture of them and I with a card in his hand or something like that. So a great app that if you're into sort of keeping the memories and pushing them that way, this might be a good choice for you to check out. I think most planners know about Bizzabo. I think it's one of the more popular ones out there. But if you're into event planning, you need to at least download this. It's going to make your life easier. I'm pretty sure most of the people who are on this, what is this called? What do we call webinars?
The Event Planning Association webinar.
Anyone watching the webinar is probably pretty familiar with this, but if you're not, this is going to save you a ton of time. Do yourself a favor and check this out. If you're an event planner, you definitely should have this on your phone. Evernote, you know, if you don't already use it, this is a great way to sort of keep everything together, to keep everything organized. A lot of people just try and do it straight from their email. They'll get emails back and forth. They want to plan timelines and things like that. Evernote is I'm an Apple guy. I love Macs. So Evernote works really well for me to basically project manage where I'm at, what I need to prioritize in my timeline so I don't miss things. As event planners, you guys probably know this more than I do. It can be very easy to overlook the small details, and Evernote's going to help you to kind of keep everything in check and make sure day to day you're doing it. Super Planner is another one that was recommended to me. This is a good way to sort of check your budget, make sure you're on the same page as your client. You guys can both sign off on everything together. And again, it's a nice little checklist to make sure as your event goes on, hey, the wedding cake costs $1,000 more than it was supposed to, or you know, the lighting guy said there's an added fee here and there. You can track all that in here and very easily send it to your client, show them where everything's at, and if they need to put a halt on something or pull back on something because a budget might go over or under, whatever it is, that's a good way to keep track of everything. So mistakes and how to avoid them. This is a pretty common thing. I deal with a lot of people that ask, oh, you know, I'm just looking for an entertainer. I went on Google and there's about 15 different ones. I'm just going to try and find the one that is the cheapest or whatever it is. These are the most common mistakes that people are going to make when booking an entertainer. I do a lot of corporate work, and the one thing I would say is make sure that the person is squeaky clean. A lot of times some performers don't realize that certain jokes don't play well to certain audiences, or what I might think is politically correct, somebody else might not. So the best way to do this is check your references. If you're interested in working with somebody, just ask them, hey, do you have somebody that you've worked an event for like this in the past? And just ask them, is this person going to be non-offensive to everybody in the group, whether it's my 90-year-old grandmother or my 12-year-old nephew if he's at the event for whatever reason. I can't stress that enough, because as a planner, if you hire an entertainer, entertainment is the #1 remembered thing at almost every single event. It's not the food, it's not the lighting. And if the entertainer says one off-color thing that puts somebody off, that's what's going to be remembered. And unfortunately, as you know, it's probably going to come down on you. So just make it very clear, both to the entertainer and to the references, I need to make sure this person's not going to offend anyone. Now, some groups are a lot more fun and easygoing than others, but just be careful. Make certain you get a money-back guarantee, and that is important. I don't think if an entertainer believes in their services, they should be able to offer you a 100% money-back guarantee. Myself, I've offered one for the last 10 years. I want my client to know that everybody's going to have a good time. Nobody's going to be offended. You're putting good money into what my services are, and I should stand behind them, just like most service providers do. So if they don't offer a 100% money-back guarantee, just know that could be a red flag. This is a big one for me. Don't make a decision solely on price. I do understand people have budgets and you have to stick within them, but most good entertainers will either work within your budget or they'll recommend somebody in your budget. But don't just go looking for an entertainer on the cheapest, whoever has the cheapest quote, because what you're going to get is just that. You're going to get a hobbyist that's giving you a quote after work. You're not going to get a professional. So don't make a decision just on price, or you could be setting yourself up for a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, make sure you see a sample of their work. You know, if they're a true professional, they'll have video clips, they'll have testimonials, they'll have people they've worked with. So, you know, sometimes my performing style is not going to fit for certain people. So if somebody contacts me for a gig, I want to make sure they look at a couple of my videos and they understand the kind of performer I am. I don't come out and want you to think that I'm really magical or that I went to Harry Potter school or something. I want you to understand I make jokes and I want people laughing just as much as they're amazed. I want them to be having a good time and laughing along the way. So check out the clips, see what kind of work they do, and you make the decision if that's the right fit for your group or not. And then confirm the entertainer is a pro. You know, that really comes down to anybody can make a website that makes them look like a professional. And the reality is if they're a professional, there's a few simple steps you can take to track that. Number one being checking resources. Hey, do you have some people that you've worked with in the same type of environment you'll be working here? And if they're at all hesitant about sending you some references, maybe they're not as professional as they think they are. So check their website out, check their videos out, check the photos out, make sure it looks like they're a professional, and then do your diligence and just do a little bit of background history and make sure that they can actually, you know, deliver what they're promising.
Yeah, I mean, that's really helpful. I think event planners, when booking entertainers, run into those issues all the time. So it's really interesting and really helpful to have an entertainer's perspective as to what they should look out for and should look for. So now we're going to talk, and feel free to interrupt. We're going to talk about tips for post-event maximization. We're going to assume that you've had a successful event and that now comes the time when you want to get the most mileage out of it. Because every event, in my marketing opinion, should turn into at least more than one event. You want to have a self-perpetuating spiral up of events so that you're always booking events from each event that you do, and that way you'll never obviously run out of business. So number one, one of the biggest things nowadays is you've got to take video of the event, and it can't not just the videographer, assuming there is one, videoing the event, and then they're going to put together a DVD maybe of the entire, for example, corporate event or the entire wedding. And you might have to wait a few weeks for the DVD. You might be looking for 2 minutes of footage. They may not be videoing you very much. The event planner certainly isn't featured in the video. So what you want to make sure is everyone has a smartphone. You've got to take videos of both people having a great time at the event. You want to video the venue. You want to video whatever you did with the lighting and the table pieces and the centerpieces and whatever entertainment you've arranged. But you also want to make sure to video yourself. You want to make sure to video yourself at the event. You want to make sure to get video of yourself with your client who booked you for the event, talking about how much of a good time they had. Adam, I know this is something you do at every event.
Yeah, for me, it's a given. You know, normally people want to videotape impossible things. So my profession is a visual art form. You have to see it. I can tell you on paper what I do and how great I am, but seeing reactions of guests, you know, being blown away and laughing and being moved, that sells more than 1,000 words can. So for me, video and photos are two of the biggest marketing things I can use. And
Absolutely.
Again, like you said, repeat booking. People will save those. One tip is, like you said, do it on their phone. Don't have someone filming because those videos go to you. If it's on their phone, they're going to go and say, look at how beautiful this event was. And they're going to show their friends. And then, of course, it's going to come down to, well, who planned that for you? And for me, they'll say, well, who was that guy? He was great. And I do get tons of shows from just things like that. So
another sneaky trick that works really well is to also take video and pictures. We talked about pictures too, on your phone of people, and then say, hey, let me send that to you, and get contact information. So obviously your client who booked you, you're going to have their information, but some of their guests, you wouldn't know who they are otherwise. So this is a great way to say, hey, let me text you that picture. Hey, let me shoot you that video. Let me get your email address, so that you are building your list of people at the event while you're literally still at the event.
Absolutely. Yep.
Another thing we recommend at the end of every event is to send a handwritten thank you letter, not a Word doc, but an actual handwritten thank you letter to everyone involved, especially your client, but also to other key decision makers, other key players involved, even the other vendors there. So maybe you're thanking the DJ that you booked for doing a great job. Maybe you're thanking Adam for doing for entertaining fantastically well. One thing, it's going to make you stand out head and shoulders above everybody else because nobody does it anymore. If
There's also a great app for that called Bond, and Bond is a lifesaver. Every time I do a show, you're right, handwritten thank you letters go so much further than people know. We're busy people. Sometimes it's hard. You make a mistake on the last line and you have to, write the whole thing over. It's called, I think, bond.com, but basically you send them the address, you send them what you want via text, and they, by machine, but it's an actual pen on paper. They write out exactly what you've written. They send it, they do the postage. It's been a lifesaver for me. It saved me many, many hours. So
yeah, that is bond.co, bond.co for handwritten cards, signed and sealed by the latest technology. It looks, it comes across as handwritten, but you don't have to literally physically handwrite it yourself, and you can edit it. Works incredibly well. You'll be amazed at the referrals you get just from the fact that you sent a handwritten letter. We've had people literally take pictures of our handwritten letters and post them on Facebook going, I can't believe so-and-so sent this to me. Nobody does this anymore. So exactly. It's an absolute way to stand head and shoulders above the crowd in terms of your professionalism and your attention to detail. Another thing we do is we encourage you to survey the people at your event. So you want to maybe attach to that maybe the second thing they get after the handwritten letter is a physical survey, not just, something on SurveyMonkey, not just something that goes out via email, but a physical survey that they send back with feedback about your performance, your event that you did, how you were able to work with them, so that way, and we always include check boxes on that survey to make sure, one, can we use your comments in our marketing? So you now have permission to use them as testimonial. And two, we're a big believer in something called the Net Promoter Score, which is like on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer us to a friend, family member, or colleague? And obviously 1 being not at all, 10 being absolutely. Your Net Promoter Score is what is the average? So if you did 20 events last year and you asked 20 of your clients what the score was, what's your average? And obviously you want to get as close to 10 as possible. So surveying your clients, find out what they like, and more importantly, even find out if there was anything that they thought you could improve upon, because you want to make sure, A, you can address that issue, and B, you can make sure it doesn't happen again in the future, because you always want to be improving your skills.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I think bettering yourself as a service provider is of the utmost importance if you want to stay busy. And the best, people will tell you how great you were to your face. Give them a day or two and let them fill out a survey, and they will be 1,000 times more honest, and you can better your business dramatically just by doing that. So
absolutely, nobody, unless you really, really screwed up, nobody's going to tell you. Most people won't tell you that they're not happy. Like for example, when my wife and I got married, the wedding cake was supposed to be pink, and it was white, and it was lightish. It was a very, very light pink. Like you could have thought it was white. You could have thought it was really, really faint light pink. And my wife was not happy because she ordered a really pink cake. She told me and her parents that she was unhappy that it wasn't a really pink cake, but she did not tell, the wedding cake caterer company, bakery, who delivered it at the time. I don't think she even saw it when it arrived. She saw it later, but she would have happily expressed that to them via a survey, and they could have said, oh my God, we're so sorry. We just did an event literally the day before recording this. It was my son's 10th birthday, and we did it at a fun center where they had a football field. They played football and dodgeball. They had go-karts that they raced. They had ping pong tables and foosball and all this great stuff. And my son and his 31 friends had a fabulous time, but the food that the fun center was supposed to order for us showed up like 40 minutes late. And we only had 20 minutes to do pizza and cake and get kids to the next other activities. So it caused a significant amount of stress, and we were not happy. And they had called the food place like 4 times going, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And so we were extremely unhappy. But the thing they did to make it right was they said, listen, we're really sorry that our food vendor screwed up. We're going to take that up with them. We're not going to charge you for the food. It's on the house, because they inconvenienced you. And I said, that's good customer. It sucks that it was late, but that's really good customer service.
And in turn, you said 31 kids were there. Now, if you refer 3 of those parents to them saying, hey, they screwed up, but they took responsibility, that was worth it for whatever it's going to cost them on the food, which obviously the vendor should take care of anyway. But exactly right. I think customer service is a dying thing, and the companies that are excelling, look at Apple. You walk into an Apple store and there's 15 people waiting to help you there. And they do that because they know, if you can have good customer service, you're going to be around. And it's the same with a single service provider. You don't have to be a big company to excel in customer service. So I'm a big advocate of that as well.
Absolutely. You mentioned something about constantly working on your skills, and I think that's really important. One of the most important skills for event planners is being creative. Because again, even though Pinterest is a great app for event planners, we hear all the time from our event planners, my prospective client said, I'm just going to go on Pinterest and figure it out, or I'm just going to go here and do it myself. Or we had an event similar to that last year in the corporate event world. We need to do something different. And you're a recognized expert and keynote speaker on creativity. So I'm excited to take some notes on the 4 steps to ignite your creativity for planning unforgettable events to help us all do our jobs a whole lot better. So let's go for it.
Sure. And creativity, firstly, doesn't necessarily just mean making your event creative. It can be creativity in the way that you're marketing what you do. Like you said, a lot of people say, I'll just do it myself. Well, maybe the creativity approach there is that you're letting them know what it really means to do it themselves. A lot of people, let's say you're planning your wedding. I'll get on Pinterest and I'll do it myself. But they contact you first. So maybe you're letting them know, just so you're aware, what I take care of are all the things that you're not seeing when you look at pretty flowers on Pinterest. So that could be a way to creatively approach getting more shows or more events, is letting them know what it really means to be an event planner. I understand from talking to a lot of them is that their profession or their skill set can be downplayed by certain individuals, where they don't realize the amount of work that goes into planning this. They think they can do it themselves. So creativity can be looked at in a whole lot of different ways. But the first thing I want to talk about, a lot of these are going to seem very simple, but for me, they work. There's nothing better that works. And the first one is meditation. Meditation, mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, being still for a little bit, but committing to daily meditation focused on the event at hand. So for me, if I have a big corporate event and they want something very unique, they want me to help pitch their company message in an entertaining and engaging way. That's a challenge for me. That's not just me going to my magic closet, pulling out some tricks and running through what I know. I have to think of a way to incorporate their message, their company, into an effect that gets everybody engaged. And for me, if I sit down for 15 minutes every morning and my meditation for that week up, the planning week or 2 weeks up to the event is meditating on whatever I want to accomplish. And my goal is going to be to make this company understand the message in a fun and engaging way. So first steps first, if you don't do any meditation at all, learn some basic meditation techniques, which you can get for free. There's something called Headspace. It's an app on iTunes, I believe, and probably on Android as well. It's a very good beginner meditation app. Regardless of the creativity or not, meditating is an amazing thing for your life, for your health, for your spirituality, for your happiness. So just learn to meditate if you're not. If you are currently meditating, then you can meditate with purpose, meaning my purpose is I'm going to make the most epic event for this client ever. And let your mind go nuts. Your mind is a very powerful tool. And if you can unleash it a little bit by meditating and being mindfulness in that you know your end goal of the meditation, you'll blow yourself away with what you're capable of. The thing about creativity is people believe that it's a God-given gift. If you're not born creative, you can't be creative. And there's nothing further from the truth. Creativity is a muscle, just like anything. And if you exercise it, then you're going to get better and better at it. And all it is being diligent and looking for time and dedication to be creative. And meditation is an amazing, amazing tool in that. So this is a fun one that I do with some planners just to sort of help them out, is to plan your dream event. That old saying is, what would you do if you were rich? What would you do for the rest of your life if you didn't have to worry about money? It's the same thing with planning an event. If you're hit with a budget and you've got a really low budget for an event, plan the event as if there were no budget or there were no time restraints. Plan it as if it was the most epic thing you could ever come up with. And then write all that down and put it into a note file and say, this is the event if I had no limitations. And now that's your starting point, and the rest is just working on how do you'd be surprised with what you can do with shrinking a budget when you know what your end goal is. And if you've got this beautifully planned out event with no limitations, that's your starting point. And now you work with the budget to figure out how much of that can you put into it. So you're basically, you're shooting for the moon, you're going to hit the stars type thing. And it's a great way to kind of open your mind up and envision, if there were no limitations, what would this actually look like? And you never know, at the next event, you might get somebody that goes, look, money's not an issue. And now you've got this swipe file of a dream event and things that you can pitch to them. Be open to new ideas. This is very important. I mean, to be creative, you can't be closed-minded. I think as planners, most of you are very open and creative inherently, but the idea is if your client maybe gives you an idea that you think is not going to fit or not going to work, don't close that off in your head off the top. A lot of times you say, okay, we'll think about it, but you've already made the decision it's not going to work. And that's the opposite of creativity. Creativity would be saying, this is what the client wants. How do I make that happen in a way that will work? And you come up with something really beautiful from that. So just be very open to everything. It's like that movie where Jim Carrey had to say yes to everything. And his whole life.
Yes, man. Yes, where instead of saying no, but, you replace it with yes, and it takes you in a whole different direction.
And that's true with all of life, but especially when planning events, just try and say yes more and be open-minded to things where sit on it for a few days. Don't overanalyze everything, but just absorb it. Let yourself sit with it. The next day when you do your morning meditation, that's going to be in the back of your head. And maybe something creative comes from that.
What about journaling? I know it's not on here, but I know you're a huge proponent of that.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of morning routines. And my morning routine is exercise. First and foremost, take care of yourself. Journaling, meditation, and then a few other things that I do for myself. But journaling is a very good way in the morning and in the evening, first to set goals and stick to them and know what you're supposed to be kind of focusing on for that day. But my morning journaling is about what I'm trying to do for the day. Maybe I had a dream. I always write my dreams down because I get a lot of creativity ideas from them. And then at the end of the day, my journaling is more about how did my day go? I always try and write 3 things that I'm grateful for that day, and then 3 things that I'd like to accomplish the next day. When you write something down on a piece of paper, it's dramatically, even voice recording will work, but when you're physically writing with a pen on paper, excuse the cliche, but something magic happens. And if you can get into a routine of doing that, you'd be very, very impressed with how much more you can accomplish day to day, week to week, month to month. Get outside, go for a creativity walk. I do that all the time. You're going to get, writer's block, road block, whatever it is. Just walk, change your environment. Not even necessarily having to walk, but obviously exercise helps a lot. When you get your blood flowing, your brain works better, things of that nature, but even changing your environment. So go to a coffee shop and put some headphones on. There's another great website called, I think it's called Coffeetinity. Just Google coffee shop background noise. And sometimes just sitting in your office with background noise of a coffee shop stimulates things that you didn't know were there before. So changing your environment, if you feel stuck, if you feel in a rut, or if you're not stuck, but okay, I've got some creativity planning to do, take your iPhone or whatever phone you've got with the voice recorder app and go for a nice couple-mile walk and just start talking, start thinking and spitting out whatever ideas. Don't filter it, just spit them out. Come back to the office, re-listen to them the next day, and you'll be surprised. But changing your environment, getting outside and going for a walk can really, really help spark some creativity.
That website is COFFITIVITY, coffeetivity.com.
It's amazing. It's basically it's a coffee shop noise in the background. So I have those headphones. I can just isolate myself. I have 2 kids. I work from home. My kids are young. They're crazy. Sometimes I need to just be somewhere so I can kind of take myself out of my office by just hearing that background noise. So it's a great little thing to try if you want something different.
Absolutely. We've talked about so much today. I know obviously creativity and coming up with awesome event planning ideas and event planning marketing ideas is huge for our clients. It's huge for our event planners. Where can they, I know you had graciously agreed to make an amazing, for an amazing giveaway. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm just finishing up a book of mine that I'm very proud of on creativity and innovation. These are tips, techniques, and lifestyle changes that you can do yourself to live a more creative and innovative life. So that book is going to be done here probably in the next 5 to 10 days. And once that's finished, I'm happy to send everybody a free copy. All you've got to do is just email me directly. You can email me at my direct email, which is going to be info@adamwilber.com. And Adam Wilber is ADAMWILBER.com. So info@adamwilber.com. And you can just put creativity book, anything that will let me know you listen to this webinar and that you're looking for your free copy of the book. My goal in the book is to really help people realize that you're a lot more creative than you are, and with some simple, easy things that sound almost silly. Go out and take a walk, learn to meditate. If you stick with these things, you'd be surprised at the outcome you can get from them. So shoot me an email and I'd be happy to send you a copy of the book on me, and I hope you take something from it.
Awesome. Well, we greatly appreciate your very valuable time and expertise here today. We talked about 7 must-have apps for event planners, how to overcome the 5 most common mistakes event planners make when booking entertainment, tips for post-event marketing maximization, and 4 steps to ignite your creativity. If you want to get a copy of Adam's new book on creativity, he is a recognized expert on the topic. Just send an email to info@adamwilber.com. We greatly, again, Adam, thank you so much for making a free copy of the book available to everybody, and we greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me again, Seth. I appreciate you doing that.